everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Kirsty and this is Stuck in the Mud. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about 6 things that I stopped doing to help heal my OCD. Some of these things we might be aware of and other things maybe not so much. Maybe they're things we do unconsciously, we're not really thinking about it and they're perpetuating the OCD cycle without us even realising it. So number 1 is I stopped seeking reassurance, and that would be reassurance from friends and family. So when I'm getting caught up in an OCD thought, and I would seek that reassurance just to make myself feel a bit better, and that reassurance would actually help sometimes. It does help you feel better in the moment, but in the long run it's not the best thing for OCD because we're not leaving that uncertainty there, and OCD just wants that ultimate 100% certainty. And by us engaging in this kind of reassurance, we're kind of doubting it, we're doubting everything, and that just feeds OCD more and it makes it stronger because we're saying, hey, this is important, I need to figure this out, and all it does is perpetuate that cycle. Now, reassurance seeking can also come in other forms. It can be seeking reassurance online, and this is something I have done as well, and this is what I had to stop doing. I had to stop seeking reassurance from online forums, and everyone is doing the same kind of things. They're all there because they want to make themselves feel better, because having OCD really sucks. It does. It's really hard, and it's a very, very difficult struggle. And, we just want to feel better. We just want to feel not so much caught up in it all. We want to have that release from all these emotions that come along with OCD. And we will seek reassurance any way we can. So if, for example, that my family, and this is true of myself, my family knew that this wasn't the best thing for me, and they'd be aware of it, and I'd say, look, I'm not going to answer that because this is reassurance seeking. But then there's sneaky ways we can do that, and we can do that online, and that's something I had to stop myself doing because in the long run it's not going to help me heal from OCD, because I'm not letting that uncertainty just be there and just sitting with that discomfort, because it is difficult when we're on this healing journey. It's not an easy thing. We have to really go through some very uncomfortable situations, but let me tell you, it's worth it in the long run, and you're going to feel better for it. And we have our ups and downs. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not been plain sailing for me. There's definitely ups and downs along the way, but all these things are to help you. Number 2 is rituals, and that can be whether physical or mental rituals. I'm going to talk a bit about this because I had to stop engaging with these things. So whether it was a physical ritual I was doing, in my case, the physical rituals they just happened to me really at a younger age. I did a lot of physical rituals as a younger child, and as I've grown older they became more mental rituals. So when I talk about mental rituals, I'm talking about rumination. And a lot of the time you'll hear the term purely obsessional, because purely obsessional really means that it kind of makes it seem like it's not quite the same thing as OCD, but it really is, because we're just obsessing, and it's just these thoughts going round and round in a loop, and we're getting engaged with them. We're trying to figure them out, and we're kind of making our brain think, this is important, I need to figure this out, and they become a whole other kind of ritual. We're trying to dissect all these thoughts in our head, and all we're doing is feeding that cycle, the OCD cycle. And it's a ritual, another kind of ritual. It's just not in the physical sense where people can see it, and it's almost like people don't even realize you're doing it. They don't, because it's all in here, and it can be difficult for people because when I was doing the physical ritual, it was easy to see, people, I maybe tried to do it quite discreetly, but you know, people would often see it, and especially my family or people close to me. But when it became more of a mental ritual where I was ruminating constantly over various things, that inner turmoil is just, it can destroy you. It can really put you in a really bad place, and it's so mentally draining and physically tiring. You know, you can feel so physically tired with it as well, because it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work trying to figure out all these thoughts that are whirling around your head and looping around your head, the same thoughts over and over again. So when I talk about resisting those kind of rituals, you know, I had to stop that. I had to stop doing that. And I don't have an 100% success rate with this, you know, and I still do it today. You know, I have my days where they just seem to, not so much the physical side of things, although there are tiny things that I still catch myself doing unconsciously sometimes, because I feel like I have to repeat a certain action or something like that. But I'm very aware of it now, so I can kind of nip it in the bud very quickly. But the mental rumination, that kind of ritual, you know, I get sucked in sometimes, and you're not even aware of it half the time. It's, you know, you can be thinking over something, trying to figure something out, and then you're like, hold on, I know. But we recognize it. I've got better at recognizing when I'm doing that, so I can nip it in the bud, like I say, very easily. I can say, oh, I know you're there. I know it's an OCD thought and it's trying to get me hooked in. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to let it be there. Have that kind of relaxed awareness around that thought, you know. So I really had to stop doing those things. At number 3, this is another thing, and I want to talk about this more in specialized videos of their own, but I'll touch on it briefly here because I think a lot of people will agree with me with this one. We have coping strategies for dealing with these OCD thoughts and coping structures to numb the pain that OCD brings to us, because mentally it can be torturous dealing with some of these OCD rituals and thoughts every day. And I have found myself that there's certain things, certain behaviours I will do to kind of numb that. And some people, that could mean like alcohol. We try and numb the intrusive thoughts and all the stuff that we have to do alongside that, all the rituals, the emotions that come alongside it. You know, there's just certain things we'll do to numb the pain. And, you know, like I say, some people use alcohol. For me, and this is what I want to talk about again, it's that kind of addictive thing that I do, and maybe it's the addictive personality and obsessing over things, but I have to cope with my OCD at times. And for a long time, is shopping. You know, I'd really love to explore this a lot more, because for me, it's shopping. I will buy things that I don't really need, and I think it's all just to fill my head up and busy myself with things that don't really they're not important, you know, they're just things and material things, possessions. And I do that a lot, I think now, and I've really, you know, I've thought about this, and I do think it is to numb that OCD side, because it can be so busy and it can overtake everything. But if I can just escape it for a while, and it's all escapism, just to get away from those things, I will do some online shopping, and I can just think about that for a while, and I don't have to take these thoughts and everything like that seriously. And I've done that for a large portion of my life, and what I really, I'm not judging anyone by any means for doing any of these things that they may do to cope with their OCD, because it's hard, you know, living your life with these torturous thoughts. It can feel so hard and draining, and people have no idea how difficult it is dealing with this day to day. And, you know, we're looking for ways to escape it all the time. And another thing for me was sleep. I would just want to sleep all day, just so I don't have to think and have these thoughts looping around my head. And it's just a form of escapism. And I guess shopping for me has been a big part of it, because, you know, I just didn't want to think about OCD thoughts anymore. I just wanted to have that escapism, and also looking forward. You know, if you can order things online and you can look forward to them coming, it's you know, it's just a way of taking myself out of the OCD world for a minute. So, you know, it's difficult, but I really had to be more conscious about when I'm doing these things and, you know, dealing with it in a better way. And this is why all of these tips in these videos, want to help others that are maybe going through OCD like I have, and different ways we can do things that are better in the long run, because all these things are just going to exacerbate a problem. They're not the best ways to cope with these things, but sometimes we just want that quick fix and something just to escape for a while. But in the long run, these things aren't the healthiest ways to approach it. But I wanted to do lots of tips for people that maybe find themselves in the same places I have and realize there's a better way to deal with this. And these tips are all in the video, so I hope these videos are helping you. I'll talk about that more in length though, because I think it's quite an important thing. And I do know, for example, like hoarding and which again is, it's part of me as well. I do have the type of personality where I tend to want to hoard a lot. But yeah, shopping has been a big thing for me, and I'll be interested to hear if any of you have dealt with OCD with those kind of strategies too, just trying to escape for a while and maybe not doing things in the best way in the long run. But they do give us that escapism, which, I'll hold my hands up, isn't always the best thing for it. But anyway, so going on to number 4, and this is an important one, they're all important, but this is really key, is not pushing thoughts out. I had to stop trying to push these thoughts out, all these violent, intrusive thoughts, images, whatever, all these kind of uncomfortable feelings that we get alongside the intrusive thoughts, whatever kind of theme it was, but there can be some really like horrible things that OCD will kind of put on us, and we're very sensitive to all this stuff in the world, and violence, sexual kind of things, and harm, just all these thoughts that are just so far from us. Then nothing, they say nothing about us, but we think them. And when I used to try and push these thoughts out, they just come back, and they come back stronger. And this is really important. It's really key for getting better from OCD, is letting the thoughts be there. I talk about this so much, but it's so important. We can't try and push these out. It's just not going to help. They're just going to come back stronger, because we're saying to these thoughts, this is important and I just want it out of my head. But they're not important, and this is the thing, they're just OCD thoughts. If we can just let those thoughts be there, but not get involved in them, because the involvement can mean trying to push them out. We've got to be very careful about the involvement we have. It's as little involvement as possible, so not trying to push them out, not trying to change them. We're not trying to question them and try and work them out. These are very important things when we're letting thoughts be there. Because what we resist persists, and what we let be there, eventually we don't care. The things we can let, the thoughts we can let be there, eventually we won't care that they're there. And that is when we're consistently practicing this, we can get to that place. We can get to the place where these thoughts can enter our headspace and we don't care that they're there. And the more we practice this, the more we let thoughts be there. We're not trying to get rid of them. And that is important. We don't try and get rid of these thoughts. And I hear this so often is, people will do this. And this is in the next step. And I'm going to talk about this now. Number 5. Stop trying to replace your thoughts. And this is important. We have to recognize they're there and accept them. It's not going to be easy, because we don't want these thoughts in our head. We're tired of dealing with these kind of thoughts every day. But we have to recognize and have awareness that they're there and accept that. And you know what? We have to behave that we don't care. There's no importance to them. We have to behave that way because they really aren't important. We have to recognize they're there, of course, but we accept them and we let them be there. And I hear this advice a lot online, and people will say this, and although for some people this may be helpful, trying to replace thoughts, so negative thoughts, try and change them for positive ones, it doesn't work for OCD. So if you've been doing that and you're finding you're not feeling any better, that is probably why. Because if you have OCD, that is not going to help. And you see it an awful lot, especially in videos and various advice, columns online. You'll see, we'll just change it for a happier thought. Well, I'd love to, but you know what? It doesn't work for me, and it won't work for anyone with OCD, because we're telling ourselves that those negative thoughts are wrong. And that just sends the complete wrong message to OCD, because they're not wrong. Just because they're in our headspace doesn't make us a bad person for thinking them. It doesn't matter that they're there. Any thought is allowed. And I remember my therapist saying that to me. She said, any thought is allowed. And that is powerful, because we don't have to get so caught up and worked up with the fact that we're having these thoughts. It's so important. We just have to behave that they are unimportant, because they are unimportant. They're just thoughts that we've gathered, in our environment. We're gathering all this information that's floating out there. We're taking in all these things because we're sensitive individuals. I do believe people with OCD, we're very sensitive individuals, and we can take on board a lot of these things because they're so far apart from who we are. And, trying to replace these thoughts is just sending the message and the signal to OCD that this is important, and I need to change this, because having that thought is wrong. And I had to stop doing that, because trying to replace things is just not going to help OCD. It's just going to make it stronger and make it exacerbate the problem, So yeah, just be wary of that. Be mindful that advice you may hear, but it doesn't work for OCD. We have to let the thoughts be there. And it's going to be uncomfortable. It is. I'm not going to say it's easy, because it isn't. But the more often you do it and the more consistently we practice this, it does get easier. So moving on to number 6, and this is so, so important. And, I have had to really, I've had to really stop this, because I think when you have OCD, you can be quite hard on yourself. You have to stop being so hard on yourself, because living with this disorder every day is torture. It's so challenging, and the strongest person, it could bring you down, because people that don't have this don't understand how hard it is living day to day with you, when you've got your head so full of all these intrusive thoughts, and you've got to carry out these rituals or mental rituals, whatever it may be. You've got to do that 100 times, or you've got to, try and figure this thought out and this thought out, and what does this mean about me? It's just so loud, OCD, some days, and living that way is difficult. So we have to, give ourselves a break. When we're feeling like that, I know it's hard, but just let those thoughts be there without answering them. And, when we're trying to bring ourselves down, we're like, feel so guilty. We think, why me? Why have I got all these thoughts? But that is just getting involved in them. It's just another way for OCD to kind of hook us in, and we're already, getting involved. We're going around that cycle and going down the rabbit hole, and it's just, again, it's involving ourselves, but we just have to give ourselves that self-compassion and know that, if we can just leave them alone, that they will dissolve, they will fade away. And I am living proof of that, because I've done this many times, when I have got stuck with OCD, and it works. This works. And I'm not saying, like I said, it's not easy, but with just continued practice, it will get so much easier, and you'll find these thoughts dissolving away a lot quicker. And also the frequency of them, I have found dissipated over even a short while of practicing this. You know, I do notice some days I'll get to the end of the day and I'll think, oh, I've not, you know, I had that intrusive thought earlier, but I didn't get wrapped up in it. And then I'll be thinking, oh, I'm getting caught up in it now, you know. So it's funny, you know, I'll get to the end of the day and I'll remember that I didn't get involved in that thought. But at the time it would have been scary, and I'd be thinking, oh, you know, what do I do about this? And I'm going to have this thought all day now. But I didn't, because I didn't get caught up with it. I behaved, you know, as I should, because it's an unimportant thought. Just treat it as it is. It's unimportant. It doesn't say anything about you. So that is key. Just have that self-compassion and just know, you know, it's okay. It's okay I've had this intrusive thought. It doesn't say anything. I don't have to feel guilty. You know, I don't have to feel sadness or frustration. I can just, no, it's okay. I just say, you know, it's okay. And then just move forward with your day. And that is important, just moving forward. Although these thoughts are there, we're still moving. We're still moving towards our values and our goals. So I hope this video has helped you today, and please let me know in the comments if any of this resonates with you, and please remember to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because that'd help me out a great deal. So I'll see you in the next video.